Welcome to our audience on KTN Home, joining us now until 9 o'clock. Welcome, and this is the Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM. We are also online on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Yes. And also on www.spicefm.co.ke. Now that we speak of YouTube, let's talk to the boss of YouTube in the country, right? And this is the Google head for East Africa. Her name is Agnes Gathaiya. A couple of weeks back, we spoke with the head of communications for Google, Dorothy Oko, and we were asking, during this time for COVID-19, the tech companies, especially companies like Google, are the ones that are making money worldwide. So how is Google also helping us in the fight against COVID-19 and also in recovery? And how are you assisting the communities? And at CT, you really went trying to dig deeper into the CSR programs that Google has, or any other programs that would help uplift the people, and understanding what Google is doing. So she said that in a couple of days they were going to be announcing something, and this is how Google was going to be able to support the community in various activities, right? So let's speak to the boss and find out whether those activities have been launched. Google Country Director for East Africa, Agnes Gathaiya, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you're live on YouTube. So
YouTube.
Yes, the wave is good. The wave is good.
The wave is good.
The greetings have been received. We are waving back.
So on the 14th of September, Agnes, Google announced that you've committed 300 million shillings in grants to support education, entrepreneurship, women empowerment in Africa. This is part of Google's support to help business, job seekers, education institutions recover and rebuild from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic.
Eric, 300 million in which currency?
Kenya shilling.
It's Kenya shillings, isn't it, Agnes?
So let me correct that. So we committed 300 million shillings worth of support to help small and medium enterprises across Africa transition digitally during this time. We also committed $1 million in support of the most vulnerable part of our communities, and I'll speak a little bit about that. We also committed another 225 million, again in terms of grants, to another segment of our vulnerable population. So we have several pockets of funds that we have provided to this country. Some of it is, to the continent. Some of it is in kind, and a lot of it is in cash. And I look forward to diving into that.
Oh, let's dive right into it.
Please dive.
Right away.
No time like the present.
Start with the first part. And this is the 300 million.
So the first part is that we have a program called Google My Business. Now, if you go into Chrome and you Google almost any business, what comes out, or a known business, what usually comes out is called a profile. It's a little box that has a little map on top of it, and it usually says call, get directions, go to website.
Yeah.
And that is called a profile. Every single day, over 50 billion people search on, we have over 50 billion searches on Google. The businesses that are found are the ones that have profiles. Usually what we do is we have our partners in market who help you build these profiles, and it usually costs a little money, about 4,000, 5,000 shillings to come up with your own profiles. And after that, you have to build a business site. So what we're saying is during this time, across Africa, for the first 500,000 small businesses that come and log on our site, we'll be able to build these profiles for them, as well as build for them sites at no cost. Now, when we looked at the and this is just to step back a little bit, when we looked at the economy and everything that was unfolding, we tried to ask ourselves at Google, what are we best at? And the underlying theme that kept on coming through was that if a business wants to survive during this period, it must, quote unquote, this word that has been overused, pivot.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly does pivoting mean? Pivoting then became you must move from a brick and mortar a way of selling to going digital.
Yep.
Now, for big organizations, that's a simple, they can figure it out. They have the resources to figure out what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But increasingly, SMEs did not know how to then move from the way they traditionally do business to move their businesses online for them to survive during this period. And as Google, what we did is we looked and we said, what do we do best as Google? What we do best is to provide the tools and resources that are required for these businesses to be able to, quote unquote, pivot during this period. And that is why those 500,000 businesses are so important for us. Now, the reason why we are talking about this today with you is because these 500,000 businesses are spread across Africa. And I'm praying and hoping that having showed up here will then mean that as many of these will be in Kenya. There is no quota for a country. It's first come, first serve.
So how does a business access this service?
So what a business does is it goes to, there's a site called google.africa118.co.ke. I've shared the link, and maybe you can post it on your social medias. Now, when you go in there, you click, and after that, it's very, very simple. You're asked to fill in a little form, and you ask for a callback. Within 3-4 hours, you're called back, and certain information is gotten from you. And then we go through the process of verification so that you don't register your sister's business. So once we have verified that indeed this is you, this is your business, we then build your profile. The process of building the profile has been templatized, as you can imagine. And once we're able to verify who you are, it takes 10 minutes. So you then get a link and it has your profile. It then makes you easier to find. So for example, today, if I'm Googling bread, the companies that have profiles are the ones that will come up at the top. If you don't have a digital presence, then the 50 billion searches that are going on every day are looking for products and services just like yours. If you're not there, then you will not be seen, and then a portion of your intended business will then disappear.
I want to digress a
So
little
for
bit,
us-
Agnes. For the
Go ahead.
50 billion, before you continue, forgive me for interrupting your thought process. Of the 50 billion searches that feature in your system, have you categorized them and determined the nature of these searches? They can't
Yes,
all be
and,
people trying to figure out who has which business where, surely.
No, when someone is searching, they're searching for something.
Yes,
so
they
today
are.
I might decide I want a pair of blue shoes. So I'll go in and I'll search blue shoes. Now, if you sell shoes and you have blue shoes in stock, there's no way I'm going to know if you don't have a profile and if you don't show up on the search, right? So what we are saying is, if you sell shoes and you have blue shoes in stock, for example, and your profile is there, then you're one of the first people I'm going to see. I am then going to explore your shop. But if you don't have a digital presence at all, then I will never know you exist. And that's the value of the profile.
From the statistics that you have at Google, are you able to tell what are the most popular categories of businesses that people search for? Like now during this pandemic, when people have gone online, are they searching more for food services? Are they searching for clothes and apparel and fashion? What category is the most popular?
So during this COVID period, it's been very interesting. Most of the searches, or the number one search, has been around how to cook. So how do I cook this? How do I cook that? And a lot of the content creators we have seen emerging during COVID are people who look like you and me, who know, for example, how to make chapos, which I don't. So you'll find because I'm staying home more, I'm in the kitchen more and I'm cooking more. But most of the searches, or the number one search category we've seen, especially in this region, has been around how to cook and how to cook different. So, for example, yesterday we were presenting somewhere about a company that's involved in potatoes, crisps, whatever. And when we looked at all the research that we had, the number one searched thing in Kenya was how to make masala chicken. So during this COVID period, a lot of people have reconnected with their kitchens, and it's emerging and pulling through as the most searched category.
Even without COVID, are you seeing, or would you not have seen that in terms of support that Google would then give to companies, that it would be on the digital platform to get more businesses in Africa seen, to get more businesses in Africa then compatible with global trends now, when we see that more people are shopping online, more involved in e-commerce and things like that? Would it be that you would then give support with or without COVID?
So Google has been in country for 11 going on 12 years. So Google has been in country for 11 going on 12 years. Our investment history in Kenya has been very consistent. Some of the things we have done is we have developed or have trained developers in this country. In total, we had a goal of training 1 million developers in EMEA. In this country, we've managed to train over 30,000 developers, and these developers have gone on to work in tech across the world. Now, another thing we have done is we have gotten partners closer to the ground to be able to make these digital assets available to Kenyans. So as I mentioned before, for Google My Business, the company that is implementing this on our behalf across Africa is a Kenyan company. They're called Africa 118. And what we have done over time is reduce the cost of access to about a minimum cost of about 4,000, 5,000 shillings per business. During this COVID period, what we've decided is to zero rate that cost of access. So that is the difference. It is not that we are only intervening at this point. It is that at this point, we are being extremely purposeful about exactly where we are putting our money and where we can make the biggest difference based on our mandate.
Tell us a little bit about the investment or the participation Google has had in education in this country.
So in this country, we have Google for Education, as well as we have Google Classrooms, and these are global programs. These have been running for quite a number of years. Indeed, 30 million children across the world use Google Classroom today. One of the things we have done here in Kenya, actually one of the things that Google did globally during this pandemic is to completely make it free for anybody in education to use the Google Classroom tools. Here specifically in Kenya, we started doing a lot of training. We have worked with about 30 schools. We have 10,000 students currently using Google Classroom. And you're going to invite us again because we actually have a case study that we're releasing soon of some schools in Eldoret. These are public schools. This is not an elite school that are using Google Classroom to be able to continue learning. So we know we have closed schools, but the opportunity for us to continue learning is something Google takes a little bit seriously. And during this period, one of the things we launched was teacher training. So while we have an objective of having 500,000 students across Africa on Google Classroom, one of the issues we had is how does a teacher take their curriculum that they're so used to teaching? and how do they convert it into a digital curriculum? The next question is, how do they teach and get the same outcomes that they would, or almost the same outcomes as they would from physically being in class? How do they then manage parents? Communication with parents, continuous communication with students. How do you, for example, set exams and deliver exams online?
Yeah.
So this training is available, and it's something we actually launched 2 weeks ago. We want to train 25,000 teachers, and again, this is free, to be able to go and learn how to build their classes, so that should this be extended, or should we decide to embrace the digital way of teaching as a hybrid with classroom learning, that they have the tools and are able to actually deliver on this.
Okay. Agnes, just sticking on this education, because it's been one of the things that has been glaring when it came to COVID in terms of what needed help. I'm a huge proponent of public-private partnerships and looking at the fact that government needs help sometimes, and that there are organizations that are domiciled in the country that are best placed to be able to help fill the gaps. Education was one of those big holes that we saw now in terms of continuity when it came to learning, when the physical schools had to be closed. The government has also tried right now to tell us that in the next coming months, with funds that they've set aside, what they want to do is to be able to make sure that those who needed this online learning, for example, would then be supported. Would this be something, just based on what you've said now, something that you would be able to plug into? Because here you are and you have these plans to do all these wonderful things. And you've talked about, the Eldoret case. Is it something that you would be able to join hands with government to make the reach wider and to have more depth into the country?
That's a fantastic question. And when the government actually announced that they were going to set aside funds to drive digital learning, that was extremely exciting for us. Policy engagements with government are something we get excited about, and partnerships that would help transform the country, especially from an economic perspective, are always extremely welcome. So one of the things we are doing is to see, is there an opportunity for us to actually partner with government on this initiative? So the conversation is still extremely nascent, but we would actually welcome an opportunity to explore how our tools, for example, would be used in this situation.
I want to take you back a little bit. When you said there were these schools, 30 schools or so, that you had partnered with, what criteria did you use in determining who it is you're going to partner with?
So anybody who wants to partner, any school that wants to partner with Google is very welcome, which is why we are doing the teacher training.
Please repeat that statement again. Any school?
Any school that wants to partner with Google, is welcome. The tools are free.
Agnes, you're speaking to a chairman of a school.
BOM.
So that's music to his ears.
Yeah, please, let's sign up. As I said, we are training 25,000 teachers right now for free. You need to enroll all your teachers today to get trained and kick off and ensure your children continue to learn.
What happens if you receive 30,000 applicants for this training? Are you going to say that no, as Google, we only have 25 slots for 25,000?
So what we will do is we'll relook at it at that point and see, do we need to expand the project? Actually, even the 30,000 teachers we are talking about, we are saying 30,000 by 2021. If we finish the 30,000 in this year, then we go back into the organization and request for more resourcing. The way Google works as an organization is it allows the organizations on the ground to be able to best articulate what their specific needs are. So once we finish this, and especially if we train the teachers, they start using the tools, and we start being able to measure an outcome then it becomes a very simple ask to go back and ask for more resourcing.
Are you approaching it from a teacher plus school perspective? Because, say, in a certain school, 2 teachers are the ones who've come and gone through the training, but then the school would like to roll out this particular project for all its students and all its teachers. How would you be able then to support the school itself in implementing this program?
So the programs on how to train the schools to be able to implement this are all online and are on a portal. So they would be able to go and get this done themselves. When I talk about 25,000 teachers, that's the teachers. We also want to ensure that we have 500,000 students already learning. So if we have 2 or 3 teachers from a school trained, it also means that that school can come with its several thousand students to be able to then teach them. We'll give them each a student access that is private to them, and then they'll be able to start using the curriculum.
We're speaking with Agnes Gathaiya. She is a Google Country Director for Kenya and East Africa. We are looking at the kind of support that Google and other companies are able to offer, and today focusing on Google in recovery from this COVID-19 period. We know that COVID-19 has ravaged many people's livelihoods, companies, and also disrupted school and learning. And that's what we're just discussing now about learning and how Google can support learning. When we come out of this break, Agnes, we'll talk about other cadres. For example, we know from statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics that the percentage of gender, according to gender, percentage of women who have been impacted by COVID-19 is higher than that of men. More women have lost jobs, more women have lost their income. Is there any kind of support that is being set aside, for example, by Google in terms of training, in terms of helping them to set up businesses that is available to them? We'll discuss this when we come back. This is a Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation on Spice FM, KTN Home and online.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Broadcasting on Spice FM, KTN Home, online on www.spicefm.co.ke, Spice FM KE on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And on Spice FM, we're on 94.4 in Nairobi, in Malindi 97.7, Nyeri 90.9, Eldoret 96.7, 96.0 in Nakuru. Kisumu is 102.5, and Mombasa 87.9. This morning, we are speaking with Agnes Gathaiya. She's a Google Country Director for Kenya and East Africa, talking about the support that Google is offering to various cadres, businesses, and other groups that have been affected by COVID-19. Just as we went into the break, Agnes, or talked about women. Women have been more severely impacted by COVID-19 in this time. Data by the government's Kenya National Bureau of Statistics indicates that women have lost more jobs, more income during this time. Is there any support that Google is offering to this particular group?
So one of the things we've done is we've made a grant of about $1 million available to Give Direct. So Give Directly is a company we've been working on, an NGO we've been working with for many different years here in Kenya on quite a number of interventions. This specific intervention is to target 500 of the most vulnerable women. Give Directly is coming up with a way of targeting and finding them, and they're working with partners, for example, Shofco, to find these women. These women, one of the things that we're requiring of Give Directly is that they must be the ones, the poorest of the poor women. For example, the mama fuas who completely lost their incomes during this COVID period. And what we've done is we've come up with a program that 500 of these women are going to be identified. Once these women are identified, they're going to get 6,500 shillings for the next 5 months for their upkeep. They're also going to be put through entrepreneurship training, specific skills training. When they graduate from that training, they're then going to be given a grant of about 112,000 shillings each to allow them to start their new businesses. Now, this is a program we're going to follow quite closely to ensure that the outcomes we are looking for are actually delivered. So that's the specific program that we have for 500 women whose income sources were affected by COVID during this time.
This is only in Kenya?
This is specifically for Kenya, yes.
Okay, why 500? Why not 200 or 1,000 or 50? Why 200 or 500?
So this is because, again, we as a local organization, we went to the larger Google. And the larger Google has a site called google.org that does CSR work. Now, google.org is supporting the whole world. So every country that has been affected by COVID has an ask of google.org. So what google.org did is they provided us with $1 million. But for that $1 million, they wanted a well-structured program where we're not just dishing out money, but where we have measurable outcomes. So rather than do 1,000 women or 2,000 women with that money, we said, why don't we do 500 who we can impact permanently and sustainably? And that's why we have 500 for that $1 million.
And what outcomes are you looking to see? What will this success, what will it look like?
Success will look like these women having enterprises and businesses that they can feed their families into the future. Businesses that will be able to withstand the rigors of I guess, the economic ups and downs that we usually have. We are working, or should I say Give Directly is going to work with another partner on training on very specific things. So things like dressmaking, baking, etc. And at the end of it all, the equipment required for this person to set up a sustainable business will be procured for them, and they'll be set up. Now, hopefully, with the enterprise, the woman will then be on her feet, be able to run her business, and be able to sustainably support her family.
What happens with help and management? I think one of the words that you've used quite often as we've been talking is support. And we also often find that even if somebody may have been given a seed in terms of capital or even training, thereafter, occurrences may arise where that business takes a beating. But the kind of support that they then require then is for management of funds that may be given to them, of management of their business. Is there after seed capital support? I want to say after sales support, but I'm not going to. But I mean after, after this capital has been given, is there support, kind of like hand holding that would take place thereafter?
Actually, you're right on the money, because the reason, again, we have 500 and not 1,000 or 2,000 is to ensure that even after they are trained and they're given the resources, they are continuously engaged in terms of business principles, how to manage your business, how to ensure you have the right licensing, how to make business decisioning. So the hand-holding is going to take place for a period of time, even after they're kicked off on their journey as business people. And that's part of the sustainability we are talking about, where we are not just going to dish money and walk away, but this is going to be a journey. And then this is going to be a journey that we as Google are going to follow. Yes.
You spoke of 6,500 shillings going to each of these recipients, the 500 women, over a period of 6 months. Is it 6,500 per month for the 6 months, or is it in total?
It's 6,500 shillings per month for 5 months. And the reason why we thought it's a good idea to do this is because they then are able to free themselves completely to be able to attend the training.
Right.
So they don't have to wonder, while I'm in class, how am I going to get money to feed my children or pay the rent? So during that period, we will need them to be 100% engaged in the training. And for them to be able to do that, we figured that it's important for that 5 months that they actually get a stipend.
Okay, you've trained them, they're successful, they're making money, KRA is happy. Then what?
Then, you know what they say about training up a woman. We hope that they then impact a significant portion of the societies that they live in.
You've understood where I was going with this. Now, do you have a plan to actually, should I say, benefit from this training that you've given these people so that they, in turn, can be a resource for other people?
So we have no way of benefiting, but one of the things Google is known for is measurement. So if we are able to measure and see that the impact has had the ripple effect that we are looking for, then we'll be happy and we'll walk away.
Have you mapped the kind of impact that you expect to get out of this? Say 500 women have received support. They've gone through business training. They're getting the financial assistance to start their businesses and the hand-holding to manage their businesses. How many other people are likely to be impacted by this particular project?
So we are hoping that it will have a 10x effect in terms of if you have 500 women who you've trained, each of them has 3 or 4 children, plus an extended family, plus they're creating employment because of the amazingly thriving businesses that they now have.
Yep.
We are then hoping that there's a 10x effect where we would have actually touched 5,000 lives in those specific localities.
Let's talk about the youth, because the other segment of the society that is really impacted by COVID-19, and even before COVID-19 in terms of job opportunities, is the youth. And when you talk about people who are tech savvy, also people just think of the youth. But there are very many youth who do not really understand how they can take advantage of all the tools that are available for Google. Is there anything that you would do to support them, to increase their awareness, to increase their, say, tech savviness?
So the youth have actually been disproportionately impacted by COVID. The number of young people who have lost their jobs or who are under risk of losing their jobs are quite significant. One of the things we have committed, again during this period, between now and the end of 2021, is that we are going to reskill and increase employability of people. Let me not say young people, of people across Africa. And we've targeted 1 million. And what we've done is we have set up a portal that has training. Right now, the training that is available there has a lot of soft skills and a lot of skills around digital marketing. Now, we just said that SMEs need to pivot and go digital. Who are then going to run these digital platforms on their behalf? Even when COVID is done and we are, quote unquote, back to our normal lives, one thing everybody has learned is you must have a digital presence. So for the people who are going to run your digital marketing, the people who are going to run some of your digital platforms need to be trained. So these resources, again, are available for free. Right now, it's digital marketing and a lot of soft skills. In November, we are actually launching certifiable skills that come with a certificate that you can take to your employer. And these are around IT support and other more technical courses. A lot of these courses, we are not going to require prerequisites. So if you think your passion is technology, just go in and try your hand at it. Something else that we already have available online is how to code. Again, there are no prerequisites around this. It doesn't need a university degree. It doesn't need work experience. It doesn't need, just go in, and if indeed you're passionate or you're curious about technology, go in, take a course, take 2 courses, take 3 courses, and upskill yourself so that by the time when the economy is fully open and people are now looking for people, you actually have the right skills.
When you look at the kind of impact that an organization such as yours would have with such a program, then people start also looking back and wondering, why is Google doing all this? What's in it for you?
So Google is a citizen of this country. It's a citizen of every country where it operates, and it's a citizen of the world. What is currently happening across the world, we cannot sit back and not be able to jump in and help where we can. When you ask what is in it for us, our mandate as an organization is to make information available to everybody, everywhere. And this is the type of information that we think right now is most relevant for the situation we're currently in. So information around training and upskilling, information around how you can pivot your business and you can become digital. This is right now the most relevant information that we think the world needs today to be able to come out on the other end of this pandemic.
Okay. Maybe I'll reiterate Eric's question. How then does Google benefit? Because there has to be something that Google gains from this, because all that good simply taking place
Because you're a good citizen.
and the good citizen doesn't gain anything really?
So truth be told, the specific programs we have discussed in no way provide us any revenue, any revenue, how do I call it?
Opportunities.
Any revenue opportunity or gain, right? How does Google usually make money? Usually Google makes money through advertising. So we sell advertising using Google Ads, and you'll notice this is the first time I've actually spoken about that.
Yep.
At no point, as we talk about job seekers, or we talk about the 500 women, or we talk about the small businesses, does the opportunity for us to sell advertising actually even come up? But if we have a country that's healthy and not grappling with the basics, then we move to another different level where we talk about, accessing the internet, we talk about accessing information and starting to thrive. When we get the economy to that point, then it's easier for Google to operate in the market. But if the market is completely on its knees, then it's impossible even for us to operate in that market. So it becomes part of our mandate to become part of the solution to fix this.
I'm looking at also more vulnerable parts of the society when it comes to, just what you've talked about now, and then when it comes to development of a country on a whole, as opposed to looking at a fractioned parts of society. The majority of Kenya's population today, unfortunately, would not be able to dream of the kind of technology that's required then to move towards some of the development that we've spoken about. How then do you see yourself fixed in a position to be able to uplift members of the same population who, for them, their reality has nothing to do with anything like this, but are vital to adding to the profile of lifting the country to the point where you've just talked about?
So as you mentioned, I think earlier on we talked about YouTube. One of the other organizations that's owned by Google is called Android. And one of the things that Android does across the world is to ensure that we make smart devices available to even the lowest part of the population. In Kenya, for example, we built a backend that is now more popularly known as Lipa Mdogo Mdogo. So we partnered with Safaricom, built the backend to allow for pay-as-you-go. devices to be available to Kenyans, meaning at the price or at the cost of Sukuma Wiki. And by the way, that was the price point. When we said 20 shillings a day, that price point was pegged on how much does a bunch of Sukuma Wiki cost. Meaning that for 20 shillings a day, you can open your world to all new possibilities by having a smarter device. And our team, our Android team, continuously are developing with handset makers to find a cheaper and cheaper and cheaper proposition that provides quality information to the population, but at as low a price point as possible. Access to information is a type of poverty. Lack of access to information is actually
Poverty.
a form of poverty. And the more information you have available to you, the more you know about the opportunities that are available to you and what you can do to actually get yourself out of whatever situation you're in. So that is not a COVID program. That is part of our everyday work that we do to ensure that everybody across the world has access to information.
Before you leave, I'd like you to give me the contact of, or the site or the link to that training for teachers that you mentioned earlier on.
And then we also will share it on our social media handles on Spice FM KE so that they can access it.
Okay. So it's Google. The program is called Teach from Anywhere Africa. And the link is Goo, G-O-O, full stop, Go, G-L-E, /Teach Africa.
Google.go/Teach Africa.
Repeat that again, please.
So G-O-O .GLE /Teach Africa. So I'll share the link also with you, and then you'll be able to post it
Right.
on your social medias. So it's called Teach from Anywhere Africa. That's the name of the program.
I want to ask you to look at your crystal ball, not now as the Google boss, but as Agnes Gathaiya, the professional. You have had a checkered career in the financial sector, in the tech companies, and now here at Google. Just looking at how businesses have been impacted during this time of COVID-19 and how they're trying to revive, and now this buzzword, pivot into the future. What do you see the business landscape looking like in the next, let's say, five years going forward? Those that are going to fall off the side and those that are going to survive. What companies are likely to survive this?
So going forward, I see companies, and I think we've been evangelizing about digitizing businesses for the last 10, 15 years. COVID has significantly softened the ground in terms of that conversation. So we've moved from trying to convince businesses around the value of digitizing to now them realizing for their survival, they must do this. So 4 or 5 years down the road, I think it will be impossible for anybody to set up a business that does not work on a digital platform. I think the future of the economy is based on e-commerce. And the beauty of e-commerce is you don't have to sit in Nairobi. You don't have to sit in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Eldoret, in the major towns in Kisumu, in the major towns in Kenya. You can actually work from absolutely anywhere, produce whatever it is you need to produce, and be able to access the world. So the businesses that realize that early will then significantly reduce their cost structures and become more agile. So brick and mortar, as we see it, will have a role to play, but it will not be the only way that commerce is done across the world. And it also goes for financial services. We have seen during this period, again, the platform plays, anybody who has had payment platforms has done significantly better than people who rely on branch networks and that sort of thing. So everybody is running towards embracing a digital outcome. And 5 years from now, it will be intuitive. If you want to set up a business, then that is the way you're going to go.
I guess it'll also call for development of the entire value chain, because you'd imagine that if you start a business and then you've gone online, then you also have to deal with delivery of your goods or services to the customer.
Exactly.
Then how do you play in that space as well?
Exactly. So not as Google, but what we have seen during this period is the growth of logistics companies. Mm-hmm. Logistics companies have existed in the country for a while, but now we are seeing partnerships between organizations. And I'll tell you, from an SME perspective, from the smallest business, every small business has a border guy that acts as their logistics side of the business.
Yeah.
They are trained on the brand. They are trained when you get there. Don't leave without asking for the money, which is this much. Don't leave until I have called you and cleared. Yeah. So from the most basic, smallest companies, who now each have their own border people, to companies that are large, for example, companies like Glovo, companies like Sandy, who have seen exponential growth during this period and who have actually come up with new products, offerings to be able to serve traditional businesses better. And I'll give you an example. So traditionally, what would happen is for those who still use checkbooks, when your checkbook would fill up, you would go to the branch and pick another one. Or if your card expires, you'd have to go to the branch to pick another one. Mm-hmm. But during lockdown, what would happen? If your credit card expired and we are all telling you to go digital and use your cards and shop online, what do you do?
Yeah.
So a lot of banks, for example, have partnered with logistics companies to ensure secure delivery of your instruments. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So these are the changes we are seeing. They are not huge changes, but they are micro changes that will lead to a larger logistics presence and more acceptability of digital way of working.
Indeed. Interesting times ahead. Agnes Gathaiya, thank you very much for speaking to us. And we'll be sharing all the links to the new programs that Google is offering, support for SMEs, support for women, support for youth groups, support for learning institutions and teachers. And all that, we'll be sharing them on our social media handles as well. Agnes Gathaiya is the Google Country Director for Kenya and East Africa. And she joined us today to tell us what Google is doing to help support companies and small businesses and also vulnerable groups to pivot, as she's used this word a number of times in these times of COVID-19. Have a great day, Agnes.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Agnes.
Sante.
Thank you.